Hello, guys. So I've had a couple requests to do a little tutorial of sorts in regards to uh, painting and how I do my paints and how I use Photoshop and all that jazz. So I figured I would start a I don't know, like a little mini series or something, half an hour shows. We'll go through a paint. So we're gonna, I basically do replica paints. I don't really, I'm not all that creative when coming up with my own stuff, but I do like to replicate paints for iRacing and the overlays and the stuff that you guys see on the broadcast. So um, decided we'll go through some Photoshop stuff and we'll go from there. So let's start off with where you get your template file. The template files are available on the on the car pages on iRacing. You can also get them on the forums, I believe, but you want a nice high-res one, and you can start that with that. So you can see on my desktop here, I've got a template and I've got a replica of the photo I want to do. So we're going to work on the tax layer 88 today. I like the color scheme for the tax layer. We'll probably make this a Navscar paint, a Navscar NRN paint, so we might replace some of these logos, but the color scheme works pretty well, so we will do that. I always like having something as a base to use, and we'll open that up. We'll open that up into Photoshop, just so I have it handy for when I'm gonna, when we're gonna need to get information about them as well. So we'll also open up our template file. All right, so this is your standard template file through iRacing. You get one for each of the cars. They have them available, pre-set up, pre-cut out for you. If you look over here, everything is basically split up into layers. So you've got two folders. You got the printable area, and then you've got turn off before exporting. So basically, turn off before exporting everything in this folder. Essentially, is what iRacing is going to stamp onto the car, and it goes over top of your paint. So anything in here, we don't really want to touch with, or you don't really want to edit, but you're going to use it as a reference. So you have, your mask that masks all the stuff. You've got your number block, so this is where your numbers are going to be on the car. You got your sponsor blocks, so if you were to stamp sponsors on from iRacing, this is where it would put it. But those are just a guide. You can really do whatever you want there. You got your license strip, so this is your license basically on iRacing. Your tape, which you can which would change based on your settings in iRacing. Your parts, so all the parts that are stamped onto the car. You can't change any of this stuff, but it's just there for your reference. Contigs, basically all the sponsor logos. These ones you can actually change, but we generally, it's a different file. You have to have a contigs file where you can actually make these your own, and it will stamp it on the car as well. But we'll get into that in another series. And then the super speedway fill in. So this would be filled during a super speedway race. But yeah, so knowing that these are not something that you're going to edit with, but you're going to use them as guides when you're making your paint. In the printable area, this stuff you can all edit, so this stuff will actually have an effect on your final paint. So we have the windshields, so you can actually paint the windshield, put your name on it, whatnot. It will actually go onto the paint. Color change logos, basically all of the logos are in one file here, but you can paint them. So if you wanted to change the color of, say, of the Goodyear, we could do that through here. That would allow us to change it. Pit box colors, so you can actually, if we zoom back out, in the bottom left corner is our pit box colors. So just shows you that you can change those pit box colors, and then roll bar color as well. So these three dots, these are your main, your two colors for your pit box right here, and then your roll bar color in the car. Yeah, and then we've got patterns. So basically, the iRacing, the template file comes with all of the patterns that are preloaded onto the car. So if you were to go select a pattern through iRacing and just do paints on the iRacing website, you could select a pattern. These are all the patterns that are available on the website. If you wanted to modify these patterns, you could, and change the colors and make them your own. I typically do not use the pattern file, so I just boom and delete it. I never use it. I start from scratch. And then your base. So this is your base layer where you're gonna basically do most of your paint stuff when you're talking about the color of the car. And in this case, we're gonna have a two-tone. We're gonna have a red and a white car. So while we're here, while we've got this open, you can see here that I keep that reference file open as well. Allows me to pull colors off of it pretty easy. If you just hit that color palette, you can pull a color off of the car anywhere. Keep in mind with this photo, there's shadows and stuff, so you know it's all one red, but obviously based on the lighting, you get two different reds. So I grab a red that I like, and we'll adjust it based on how we go. And yeah, the final product will make changes. I would like to point out that I'm in no means a Photoshop expert. I don't try to be. I don't tell people I am. So anything there's probably a million ways to do what I'm going to suggest here today. And there's probably better ways than what I do. But this is the way I do things, and we'll go from there. I think my color mode right now is probably wrong. No, it's good. Okay, so you can see that color's not exactly where I want it, but we'll worry about that later. We'll go ahead and actually let's just grab a darker red. We'll grab a darker red right now, and then paint this out. So that's closer. So I'm going to do just my basic outline. I'm not going to worry about refining it yet. We'll just paint up the main section. I'll paint the front bumper, the grille. These are all different parts of the car. They're actually all the way that I don't know how they lay these things out, but they are completely different. This is actually the roof cam right here that basically you can paint. So basically this would be the top of that roof bubble, and then the side of it would be the wrap, so you can actually paint that roof cam if you wanted to. I generally just, depending on the car, I'll just make it red, but all the parts of the cars are all, scattered around this template file. So as you go and learn, you'll figure out what things are. There's also some really good reference files online that you can, if you go to the forums, you can look at those, and they'll actually point out what parts are what. So we're gonna use a couple of our logos. We're gonna make this the NRN 88 or whatnot. We're gonna put Navscar on the side of it instead of Tax Layer, and we'll make it our own. But first thing I like to do is I actually don't like to start with the colors. I might actually do that now just because we have it open. I'm gonna fill the entire section, the entire car, red. So I'm going to grab my paint bucket tool. I'm just going to make sure I'm selected on the right layer, which in this case is the base layer, and boom, I'm going to paint the entire car red. Now you can see that I've already had some of those other red there, so it didn't paint the whole thing, but we'll just fix that up. Okay, so now we've got our entire car red. We'll work on the white later, but let's grab some logos. So there's a couple ways you can do this. You can, if you have logo files, you can use Google. Google's great. If you need if you want to find the Tax Layer logo, you could just Google Tax Layer logo in an image search, get a PNG file and move it on over. Sometimes you have to adjust some things, but let's see if we can. I'll show you what we can find here. Let me just pull up Google. All right, so we'll bring Google over. Now let's say we want that Tax Layer logo, so we're gonna just Tax Layer PNG file, okay, and then we'll go images for Tax Layer PNG. Boom, we got lots of image files that we can use. Generally you can find the logo that's pretty close, and then grab it into your photo. If you look, when we open a file, we want a file with a transparent background. We don't want to worry about cutting it out, but we can if we have to. You can see this background is a white background. It's not transparent, so we might skip it. We'll find one that is transparent. This one is. You can see that it's got the grid behind it. So if we'll view this image, okay, so it is a transparent background. We knew that by looking at Google. And we'll take this image and we'll drag it onto our desktop. Okay, so now we've got a couple options to get it into our into our car. So we can make sure our car is selected here. We can actually just drag it, boom, in. So it's going to drag in, and now we've got it. We can resize when we place it. What we're doing is we're placing it into the image. The first thing it's going to ask us is where do we want it, how do we want it sized, and we can do all that here. So we can move it up and down. One thing to note is when you got the free transform tool, which is called the free transform tool, you're transforming it in any direction, but you want to keep the aspect ratio generally. So if you hold shift while you're doing it, now it's going to lock the aspect ratio, so you're not going to squeeze it real tight and not be able to read it. You want that same aspect ratio going up and down. So in this case, if we wanted that tax layer on the side, this isn't the exact logo, of course, we would do a better job finding it. We would place it, generally in the right area. If we click, now we click this motion tool, it's going to ask us, do we want to place this file? Sure, we're going to place it. So now it's there. You can see it on the side. It's in our layers. It's got a weird name, so we would rename it. So tax layer logo, and it has this nifty little logo in the bottom right corner. What that means is this file is a smart object. So we can move it around. We can do sizing, but we can't directly edit it. Like if I take let's say the pencil tool and I want to draw something on it, it's not going to let me because it's a smart object. It's not going to let me make any changes to it. Now if I want to make changes, which I just did there, let's undo that. If I want to make changes, it's going to tell me I need to rasterize the level, or sorry, the layer before I can do any work on it. I can say yes and go ahead, and then it'll allow me to actually draw on that layer. But in this case, I'm going to cancel it. The cool thing about smart files, you can double click it, and it's going to open up in its own thing. So now it's in its own file. I can directly edit this. So in this case, I want to get rid of this stripe. So I'm going to just get that eraser tool. I'm going to erase this stripe because I don't need it. And then I'm going to erase the .com because I don't need it. I'm not going to use this anyways, but I kind of screwed that up a little bit, but that's fine. Once you get it to, to something that you like, you can just file, save, and it will actually save that file the way you edit it back into that original. So you can see here now it's what the adjustments that we made happened. So good way to work with smart files. You keep everything individual, contained, so you don't have a mess of layers when you're doing your work. Let's talk about layers really quickly. So you can see right now that template was sorted for us. I like to keep everything sorted my own way as well. So in the printable area, I'm going to throw in a folder, and I'm going to call it logos. Okay, so all of my logo files, everything that I put on this car that I'm going to place, I'm going to put into that folder. This way I can get rid of it if I want to and not see the logos. I can worry about just the base, but keep everything sorted as you go. I'm horrible at it, so you'll see here that I'm not very good at keeping things sorted, but as long as you name things while you're going, you'll have an easier time of being able to manage your files and knowing where everything is. Actually, I meant to put on some music, so I'm going to put on some music while we're doing this here. A little bit of Tron background music. Okay, so let's get rid of that tax lower label because we're not going to use it. I'm just going to select it, delete. I'm going to place my own, we're going to put the Navscar file in here. So let's go ahead and grab that Navscar. We're going to go to my Dropbox where we have logos, and I've got my Navscar file. So I'm going to grab just the PNG of that Navscar logo that we like to use. And that's going to edit it in, and we're going to resize that to make sure we get it a good size. It's going to be about, now keep in mind this back of the car, I believe it's going to be white, so we want the Navscar to be about that placement. We're going to place that there. Now if we look in the back of the car is going to be white, so that red is going to show up. Let's turn this down a bit. Alright, so that the car is going to be white. We'll worry about that later, but let's get this logo the way that we like it. So first off, I don't want any of that extra stuff. So again, it's a smart object. We're going to move that into the logos file. It's a smart object. We're going to double click it, to go into that smart object, and now I just want to delete everything but the Navscar. So I'm going to grab my selection tool, which is, you can change it to different shapes, but I'm going to just use the square. I'm going to select, boom, this, get rid of that, just hit delete, gone. I'm going to get rid of this. I can't get rid of it without being a little bit fancy here. Another way to do that is to get your magic tool, so you can just basically create a box around it and then double click to close the loop. So I've got that selected, boom, hit delete, gone. So now I've got just the right click to deselect that. So when you have a box like that, if I just right click deselect, it goes away. So we're gonna save this file, save, boom, it's gonna save. We can close it, come back over, we've got that Navscar. Let's make our background white just so we can see better what things are gonna look like. So we'll just select our base layer, we'll do the fill again, paint bucket tool, boom, white. So now we can see our background. We'll worry about the red later. Okay, so going to our main logos, we'll name this Navscar. Alright, so we've got the logo there. We're going to get the placement kind of right. That looks, you know, a little bit, that's fine. So we'll put it there. Okay, so you can see here it's snapping. So Photoshop tries to snap products or images where they think you want it to go. Sometimes that can get kind of annoying. So I just hit Control, and then it's going to stop snapping. Now it's going to let me put it wherever I want. So I hit Control, put it where I want, and I'm going to be happy with that. So boom, Navscar. Now we want to get that to the opposite side, right? So I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to go over to this layer right here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to duplicate the layer. It's going to call it Navscar copy. That's fine. Boom. Now we have two. So you can see here we have the two. I'm going to drag it up to whereabouts where I want it. Now we got to spin it. So there's two ways you can do this. A bunch of different ways you can do this. If you go to images, edit, you go over to edit up at the top here, you can go to transform, and then you have all your transform tools. You can rotate, you can skew, you can distort, whatever. We could just rotate it, so I could just click rotate, and now it's got the rotate tool. It's just gonna let me rotate it. Boom, I rotate it, right? I'm going to escape that just so we don't do it. But I just use the shortcut. I just Control T, and that brings up the free transform tool. Now I can do anything. So I can resize it, but I don't want to resize it. I could shrink it down if I wanted to. I could do anything transforming it. It's free transform. But we don't want to make the change like that. So I'm going to bring that tool again, Control T. Now I'm going to rotate it 180. Now, it's not snapping, right? I want it to be perfect. I can use the little guide there to get a perfect 180 degree, or I can hold shift and now it's going to snap to all the general degrees. But I want it, boom, perfect 180. So that's going to make it a perfectly aligned image, and we're going to just place that, and then we're going to move it back over and get it, you know, somewhat close to where we were, which would be, you know, just about there. So I'm happy that Navscar now on the car. First set, we're about 18 minutes into our broadcast here. I'm gonna cap these at about half an hour. I can see I got 2 people watching. That's crazy. I wouldn't watch me, but thanks for watching, guys. All right, so let's put the next logo on it. Let's do that nationwide logo in the bottom left corner. So I don't have this logo handy, so we're gonna try and pick up that logo from Google. Nationwide logo. Alright, so we want something that's close. We can see here that if we look at it's a blue N with the bird, so we want to do something that's pretty close to that. We should be able to find it exactly. I could pull it off of that, but you know, I find this much easier. So boom, we've got the logo right here. It is not a PNG file, so it's got a white background. Now in this case, that's perfect because the car is white, so we can use it. So we're gonna view the image. We're gonna grab the full-size image. It's really important that we try and grab the high-res versions of these images. Just makes it easier. So we're gonna just drag that. Let me just minimize this quick. We're gonna drag that over to our desktop. So now we've got the nationwide desktop. Logo. So let's pull that in. We're gonna boom, drag it in, so we now have it in our file here. So let's get it close to right how we want it. It's gonna be basically in this corner, so I'm just holding shift to keep the aspect ratio and then dragging it down. Again, it's important to hold shift. If I don't hold shift, it's going to skew it and distort it and make it all look weird. So it's about the right size. It's about where I want it. So I'm going to click the arrow button. We're going to place the file. Boom, it's there. We've got the Nationwide logo. It's in our folder already because we were selected there, but we need to edit it. So again, we've got a smart object here. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click it. We're going to open into the smart object. We only want this section right here. So I would just basically grab a rectangle tool. Gonna grab it. Boom, boom. So now we have it selected. I want to delete everything outside the box, but right now I've got everything inside the box selected. So we're gonna right click. We're gonna select inverse. So that selects everything outside the box, and we're just boom. We're gonna delete it. Oh, here's an important thing. So right now it's telling me what do I want to put in that spot. There's something that has to be there. I'm going to cancel this. So why that is because this image is the background. It is a background image. And it's actually locked. I'm not sure if it's going to let me layer it. Oh yeah, it will. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to layer it from the background. So now it is no longer part of the background. So it is its own image. Now we can go back to it, make sure we're selected, hit delete, and it's just going to delete everything outside in that box. All right, so then we're going to right click, we're going to deselect. Now we've got our image. We're going to file, save, and then boom, we're going to go back in. So now we've got Nationwide, bottom right corner. Make sure that's in a decent area. It is. I'm going to hold control again. Now if we had some clipping here, like you can see here, let's zoom in so you guys get a better look at this. We have it clipping, so we don't, because it's a box, it's not a PNG file, we have that white. So if we wanted to put it right up, we would have to make some adjustments to this image just to make sure that that white was gone so it wouldn't overlap. Or in this case, we can just drag it down, take that Nationwide layer, drag it underneath the Navscar layer, and then boom, and now it's underneath it, so we don't have to worry about the clipping. Okay, so we're gonna put it boom right there. We're good. We've got the Nationwide logo. Looks pretty good. Let's zoom back out. I just used that zoom tool. I basically use the zoom tool for a lot. I'll be flying through it, but fit to screen. Now we got it on the screen. Boom, we got to duplicate that Nationwide logo. We got to bring it to the other side. So we are going to right click. We are going to duplicate. Boom, boom. And we are going to move it straight up. I'm going to Control T. I'm going to grab it, hold Shift so it snaps. I'm going to rotate it around. And then I'm going to place it, and then we're going to move it back up. Now we want to get the positioning pretty close, right? So once I know the positioning is in line, I can grab it. As I'm moving it, it's letting me move it anywhere, right? Again, if I hold Shift, it's going to snap it and only let me move it along one axis. So now I'm moving it. No matter where my mouse is, it's moving straight up and straight down. It would also let me move left and right, but it's going to just snap it along whatever axis I want it. So I'm going to move it up. And it's actually snapping to mirror. It knows that this location is the same as this location, so it's actually snapping to exactly where I want it. And there it is. So we've got it there. Let's see what's next. So we've got the Nationwide. We've got a couple different other logos there. We'll get those for the next episode. I'll just go and find them all so we can just plop them in. And we'll talk about doing the paint of the actual background paint. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. It's not really, but we've got that textured line here that's going to be a little bit harder to do, but I'll show you guys how to do that. We'll basically get we'll draw this line here, and then we'll overlay the texture over top of it. The numbers we don't have control over, but we can go online to the iRacing website and get something that matches as close as we can. And yeah, that's basically it. So I think we've done enough for episode number 1. We'll leave it where we are. This will be a multi-part series. We'll keep going. We'll do more. And we'll finish this up over the next couple episodes. If you guys like it, if you see any specific paints you want me to paint, feel free to comment or send us a message, and we'll do that. I'll give this paint away. I'll probably actually make this a full tax layer, even though it is available on the Trading Paints website. We'll talk about Trading Paints more in another episode. This is probably not a unique paint, as it's a really popular paint, and Dale Jr. paint is extremely popular. So generally they're not hard to find. But yeah, we can make this if somebody comments and wants this to be a custom paint with their name on it, we can do that, and we'll get you that paint at the end of the episodes. Thanks again for watching, and we will see you on our next episode. Just a reminder, we are going live Wednesday nights on NRN for our Navscar Pro Series. Wednesday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we do broadcast live, so that's tonight. I hope to see you guys back soon. We may throw up a second episode here now for this series, or I may wait and do it in a couple days. But again, if you like this kind of stuff, comment. I will continue to do them. Maybe once I get this car done, we can go and show you guys how I do the overlays and stuff like that. All right, take care, guys.